All right. Hello again, Avengers, and welcome to another exciting episode of Traversing the Veil. Yes, this is one of my homebrew D&D campaigns set in my weird, messed up homebrew D&D campaign setting, and the people below me are the people that are ready for some time travel shenanigans.
Timey-wimey bullshit.
Yubbers. So, announcements. Probably the first thing we have to mention, Twitch just announced a few hours ago, they are severely limiting the amount of video-on-demand stuff that you can store on Twitch. For a lot of creators, this is a really, really big blow because they basically use that as a way to archive all their streams. For this particular channel, it isn't. I don't archive anything on Twitch anymore. All of my archives go on YouTube, so it's not going to affect this at all. I'm still going to be live streaming my games regularly, and I'm still going to be uploading them to my YouTube channel. One day, if this gets big enough, I may create a VODs channel on YouTube, so I'm not putting all of this on my main channel, but that is the only change that might happen eventually. And I would need to have a lot more people caring about my VODs for me to create an entire channel around it. So, yeah, so as far as it's not really affecting me or this channel, it is affecting a lot of Twitch right now. There's a lot of people that are very upset about it. I made a video talking about it today saying it doesn't really particularly surprise me, but it doesn't mean that it isn't a huge blow. So if you have other Twitch streamers that you follow, maybe be nice to them for a little bit because they have until April the 19th to find alternate places for their VODs before things start getting deleted. Mm-hmm. And that can be an extremely terrifying thing, especially for people that have exclusively existed on Twitch and maybe don't have a YouTube channel or something like that. It's going to take them a little bit of time to kind of deal with that. So it's a special time right now for Twitch streamers, and they're just going to need, some care.
Yeah.
You know what gave him that idea? Twitch Sings videos.
Oh, God. I kid you not. I did a search for Twitch Sings like last night, and it immediately just flooded me with nostalgia. Yeah. Twitch, bring back Twitch Sings. Like, I get it. Like, it was expensive and that we will pay. Like, I know people would pay $30 a month.
Yes.
Like, easily would pay. And I know quite a few of those people, it would be a smaller list, I know quite a few of those people that would pay $50 a month to have Twitch Sings back. Like, you guys could make money off of this. I still firmly believe the reason that Twitch Sings got the axe was because Facebook signed an exclusive deal with one of the big music companies. I think it was Warner. If anyone is unaware, the music industry is run by like 3 companies.
Yep.
Like, that's all it is. It's just 3 companies. And if any one of them gets mad at you, you're screwed. But anyway, Facebook announced this major deal that they did that basically you could use certain music from their catalog without getting DMCA copyright notices. And then immediately after that announcement, like the same day it happened, Twitch got hit by crap tons of DMCA takedown notices, and then in less than a month they announced that Twitch Sings was gone. So 100% I still blame Facebook for Twitch Sings going down. And now that Facebook has not only been proven to have lied about all of their viewership numbers, but is going down the toilet.
Yep.
Twitch is a perfect time for you to bring back Twitch Sings because it was lovely and amazing. And I guarantee if it had gone on for years, like we already started seeing the kind of drama starting to build in the Twitch Sings community. So there would be, some toxicity in there. But overall, it was a bunch of creative people getting together and supporting each other. It was so wonderful and lovely.
That's the problem, Jody. That was the real problem.
It's the damn creatives.
How dare you get along with each other on the interwebs?
You're supposed to be fighting. We did this to make you hate each other. God, so many good memories from that brief period of time. It's where I met Jack, wherever I don't know where she is on the overlay, but it's
Yeah.
tracks, and she and I met there, and then Mad Spike, who was in our Fabula Ultima Giga game. I met him through there, and
I subtract again.
yeah, Sub. I was like, what was the other one? Sub, who
yeah.
still streams. He streams
Yep.
Beat Saber a lot.
Beat
or at least he
Saber
used
still.
to.
Yeah, still does. I named the karaoke club that I run at school. My school name. School name Sings.
Ah!
And I use the Twitch Sings like star and like icons.
I kid
No
you
one
not.
knows what it is.
Every single time I see, like, the program icon for Twitch Sings was just like a back door, like a metal door that you would see in like an alley behind a bar, opening up and like light spilling out. And every time I see that, or the Twitch Sing Star, which is still an
Asterisk.
emote you can use.
Yep.
Every time I see that, I'm just like, oh,
Yep.
I miss.
Good things.
I remember, what was it? There was that one. They had a
Us.
like a Twitch Sings Idol kind of thing that one of the people used to run. That was kind of interesting until it
Felicity.
became. Oh no, Felicity did that, and then there was another person that claimed that he made it first.
Oh, Dated Star.
Yeah, he. Oh, can't remember his dude. I still like his girlfriend. Still streams every so often, and I catch her stuff every so often. But yeah,
Rain.
Rain, that was his name. Rain went on this massive tirade talking about how people should be thankful for him because he would give them a platform and make them in Twitch Sings because he'd allow people with low sub counts onto his Twitch Sings streams.
Sure.
And I was like, yeah, sure, that's how it works. And who was? God, there were so many really cool people. There was one person that her like catchphrase. Yeah, her catchphrase was something like, "On Wednesdays we wear pink" or something like that. I can't remember her name, but she was amazingly fun.
Oh gosh. Most of them are still like music streamers, which is cool.
Yeah, Twitch Sings was a magical time on the internet.
Yep.
I,
Anyway, Space Celestial Dragons.
yes. So anyway, other announcements happening in the TTRPG world. I just got my physical copies of 2 of the Essence 20 books that I pre-ordered forever ago. Through the Shattered Grid, which is a Power Rangers RPG supplement that covered a lot of the stuff that happened in the Boom Studios comic series, which is a phenomenal book. And then the Techno-Organic Secrets source book for the Transformers RPG, which allows you to make Beast Wars characters! And like Beast Machines, but Beast Wars! Beast Wars! Well, that's just prime. My biggest problem with the Michael Bay Beast Wars movie that he made was Optimus Primal was originally voiced by Gary Chalk, who's an amazing voice actor. He's half of your childhood probably involved Gary Chalk if you were watching anything animated in the 90s. Like he was
anything animated that was like made in Canada, he's in there somewhere.
yeah, him and Scott McNeil. Scott McNeil played like 4 characters on Beast Wars.
Him, Scott McNeil, and I cannot remember his name right off the top of my head, but the voice of Cheetor.
Yeah, I can't remember him, but he was another big.
He was also in everything. He was Mega Man.
Yeah, he was just everything, everywhere. So anyway, there was Beast Wars characters showed up, and I think Transformers Prime. And instead of bringing Gary Chalk back, they brought in Ron Perlman because he was a big famous name. I'm not saying Ron Perlman's a bad actor; he's a phenomenal actor, but he's not Optimus Primal. So when they get to make the Michael Bay and bring Beast Wars back, who do they choose for Optimus Primal? Ron Perlman. And they didn't even approach Gary Chalk for a cameo. They went back and got Peter Cullens from the 80s to voice Optimus Primal. And they brought, I can't remember who voiced Megatron, but they got the original Megatron voice actor as well.
It was Peter Cull. No.
That's
Frank
Optimus.
Welker.
Frank Welker. There we go. Frank Welker. Another name that was all of 90s.
Yeah.
It's frickin' Fred from Scooby-Doo.
Yep.
Yeah. And natural Scooby.
I was blown away with just how much of my childhood was Scott McNeil.
Yeah.
But anyway,
And then just a random Peter Dinklage in the movie, too.
yeah,
as
because
Scourge.
of course we have to have Peter Dinklage. He did so well when he did voiceover for Destiny.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, a lot
the
of people don't
original
remember.
Ghost.
Peter Dinklage was the original Ghost, and his performance was so dead and just so bad that they actually, not only did they replace him as the voice actor for your Ghost in Destiny and Destiny 2, they re-recorded every line he ever recorded with the new actor,
Which was
Wow.
Nolan North.
Ooh.
who's
That's how
another
you know
person.
you did a good job.
Well, it's Nolan North. Like, he's another person. Like, he wasn't in the 90s everywhere, but in the 2000s and 2010s,
Oh, yeah.
Nolan North was everything.
Oh, I just meant the fact that you had to re-record someone's lines. That's how you know you did a good job.
Yeah.
Have to get
So-
your lines re-recorded.
The one thing that upset me about Nolan North was in Destiny and Destiny 2, Nathan Fillion played the hunter leader.
Cade 6.
Cade 6. And one of the expansions for Destiny 2, spoiler alert, it's in the trailer. Like, the entire trailer is this. Cade 6 dies. His ghost gets destroyed, and his character literally dies. And because Nathan Fillion was busy, Nolan North recorded all the lines for Cade 6 for that expansion, including his death. So Nathan Fillion didn't get to be the voice of the character that he'd been playing for like 6 or 7 years, and Nolan North had to do it, and they're perfectly fine. Like, there was no animosity between them. I believe it was a scheduling thing, but it upset me. Anyway, so yeah, both those SN20 books are now out. I believe officially you can still buy the physical version and get the PDF for free. That will not last for forever. So definitely take advantage of that. The new monster manual, I think, is officially out now.
Yeah.
It's been in early access for the past 2 weeks for master tier and then regular tier subscribers for D&D Beyond, but now it is officially out. There are very, very mixed reviews of it. I'm planning on doing my own in-depth review of it. But overall, there are some interesting good things about it, and then there's some stuff that you kind of sit back and go, really? Really? Like, this was... You had all of these choices, and you chose that?
And the flavor text is like less detailed than the kids' things.
Yeah. Well, and that just kind of goes along with the theme of D&D 5.5 of doing everything they can.
Slimming the fat.
Well, they've basically done everything they can to kind of genericize Dungeons and Dragons,
Yeah.
which I don't think is a particularly bad thing. I like generic RPGs. Like, I would love an Essence 20, a version of Essence 20 that wasn't attached to a major franchise owned by Hasbro. But the way that they're doing it is just the wrong way. Like, I would love a generic, non-genre specific D&D, but don't make all of D&D generic and bland, because the thing that has made people as attached to it as for as long as they have has been the flavor and the lore built into it. So, anyway, interesting stuff like that going on. For the organized play stuff for Dungeons and Dragons, the new living campaign that they're doing, that I don't know if they're still calling it the Adventurers League or not, but the subtitle at least is Return to Greyhawk, is going to be premiering at, is it MTG Con? It's a convention happening, either already happened or happening very, very soon. I used to be heavily involved in the Adventurers League. I was a local coordinator for it. I ran stuff for for multiple local conventions. I helped run one of the conventions in Milwaukee. So I'm a big fan of organized play stuff in general. I think it's a lot of fun. I'm not particularly fond of the Adventure League because the version of D&D that they have you play does not play like Dungeons and Dragons. Like, you get treasure tokens and experience tokens that you can spend to buy magic items, and it just doesn't play like any D&D game I've ever played before. But I know a lot of the authors for the adventures, and they're great people. And they write really, really compelling stuff. So, yeah. Other things happening in the world of TTRPGs. I don't think anything big. There's like 47 bajillion different Kickstarters for various things going on constantly. So go to Kickstarter, or backer kits become really, really popular for a lot of TTRPGs that I follow. So there's that stuff. Ion Heart, which is the solo TTRPG I backed like a year ago, where basically you create a pilot and then you create a mech and then you go on adventures where they become friends. Like that's the entirety of the point of this TTRPG, and it's just amazing. They've sent out announcements that it looks like shipping is going to be happening relatively soon here. So that may become a thing that is going to exist very soon. Oh, and Break, the TTRPG, in mid-January is finally available to purchase for non-backers. Break is an anime-inspired TTRPG that I backed like 3 years ago, and it's adorable. They have, like, one of the classes is called Battle Princess. It has one of my favorite character classes in any tabletop RPG ever. The class is called, I think it's Factotum. And what it is it's a regular person. Like, everyone else is like, I'm a fighter. I could use 1,000,000 different weapons. Or I'm a ranger. I have my pet panther who attacks with me. And a Factotum is like, I used to run a shop. And I accidentally got caught up in all this stuff. One of their main defining features is they have a backpack. And as they level up, they can either turn the backpack into a shield or a weapon where they beat people with their giant, oversized backpack. It is the most amazing class I have ever seen. I have always wanted to be like, I am a wizard and I command the elements. I have made a pact with a demon who gives me powers to eldritch invocations. I have a sale on frying pans. You're 20% off. Like,
I worked at Subway.
it's like, I really want to run a one-shot where we bring back the Realms of the Wild characters in Break and just have one of you guys play, or bring out a guest maybe to play a Factotum who's just a waiter that Zulta accidentally conscripted into service. It's just like, I'm a waiter! I bring you food! I can recommend wine! I don't kill Gleox!
And Zoltan goes, no, I know what waiters look like.
Oh, man. So anyway, that's a real thing that you could pick up now. I plan on eventually doing an in-depth review of that because it's just a remarkably cute system that, again, plays very differently from D&D, which is starting to become a selling point for me. Not that I don't love D&D. It's a great game. But I have like 5,000 or 6,000 hours of D&D under my belt. Like, at this point, I think until we get a new version of D&D, I think I understand the game pretty damn well. And so games...
I always send you questions.
So games that don't play like D&D, I'm like, oh, this is fun. So, yeah. Anything else happening in the overall TTRPG world?
Tonight's the first episode of Desi Quest Winter.
Yep.
The Divergence
Oh, yeah.
series is here.
Yeah, Divergence happened. First episode happened last week. The next one will happen this week. I believe it's 4 episodes, I want to say. Something like that. Somewhere between 4 to 6.
Divergence, like from the books?
It's a Critical Role thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're-
I was about to say,
from Calamity.
wait.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's a spin-off of an earlier series a mini-series that they did now that Campaign 3 is over. And we did get official confirmation after that. I don't know if it's going to be directly, but after Divergence is over, we will be getting a mini-series that uses the new Daggerheart series, subtitled Age of Umbra, which is one of their like mini campaign settings that will be included in the core book. So,
And
yeah.
yesterday there was the one shot of Avowed.
Yeah. There was an Avowed
Yeah.
one shot that I missed when it went live, and I'm gonna wait for it to come out on YouTube so I can watch it.
Someone chose in it.
Yeah, there's Sungwoo Cho is in it. Whitney Moore is in it. I can never pronounce her name correctly, but she's an Overwatch voice actress.
Anjali Bhamani.
There we go. She's a beautiful name. I'm just, again, proper nouns and me don't mix. And then Mercer's in it and one other person. Liam, there we go. One of the other Critical Role members. So, and it's run by, who is running that one? Was that Mercer running that? Yeah, Mercer was running it. So, yeah, cool stuff. Good going on there. Daggerheart, we have an official date. I think is it May 20th?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have an official release date for Daggerheart, which I'm massively excited about. Daggerheart is an amazing system that I really, really love. And I'm excited to be able to play it with people. Yeah, otherwise, I think it's time for us to return to Traversing the Veil. The party is lost in time. After the city they were in was attacked by the forces of the Beholder Dragon, the party gathered next to a fountain and utilized an object they had never seen before, but was given to them by their contact from Anonymity, Esmiel. When they activated it, they were suddenly transported to the Feywild. But instead of a simple transposition from one plane to another, they seem to have been connected to a phenomenon called vanishing ruins, where in the Feywild, ruins will randomly appear and disappear, with Arai's family actually making their living exploring these ruins, mapping them, and bringing back treasures. When they realized where they are, they suddenly found Arai's parents carrying a baby version of Arai, and they realized they'd been sent back in time. After dealing with things there and coming across a fire genasi fleeing from Eladrin soldiers, they eventually settled in a druid circle to attempt to rest, to allow their friend Esmiel to recover from her wounds. While they were there, something strange happened. They felt reality around them shifting again, and suddenly they were on the edge of a cliff, seeing a copper dragon being attacked by a strange black ooze creature. Smegmic, realizing he recognized this dragon, immediately came to the dragon's defense, and as they fought the strange ooze creature, they discovered a misshapen beholder-like creature inside it, controlling it. They were able to vanquish it, and after speaking with the dragon, they discovered that not only had they moved across the Feywild, but it seems that they had moved through time yet again, going hundreds of years into the past. And as they looked up to where they had left, the vanishing ruin seems to have followed them. And now the party must decide what to do now that they are completely outside of their own time.
So, we time jumped again?
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah, that's the reason why, because she's much older
He.
when we meet.
No, the dragon.
Oh.
That's what I mean.
But yes, I am much older
Then baby version
That-
of you.
than the baby Arai.
That or.
I'm not
Thank you for noticing.
It's like, I'm not a baby? If you hadn't, like, that's a baby. I'm not a baby. See?
You're
Yeah.
a baby. I'm not a baby. And that's another baby.
Yeah, that or I figured that his parents were originally like were time jumpers as well, and that's how they knew the gadget that we use to come to their time.
They're not time jumpers. They just knew about the device.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think when we left you guys, you'd been talking with the Copper Dragon. She had kind of flown you guys back up to the cliffs so you could kind of look through the Vanishing Ruin, and you'd come back to the fountain, and you found Esmiel lying there unconscious. Not in any more danger than she had been before. Like, none of her wounds had opened or anything, but she's still out of it because she's been through a lot. She went toe to toe with a beholder.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if I described this, but the item that was used to transport all of you guys is also resting on the fountain. So, with that, obviously I know the answer to this because I'm an amazing dungeon master, doesn't forget anything. But just to make sure that Smegwick, you haven't forgotten your patron's name. What is it again?
Tesma Neural.
Tesma Neural. There we go.
It's all one word. Tesma Neural. Neural is in neural pathways.
Yeah, Tesma Neural.
How many apostrophes are in that name?
None, surprisingly
None.
enough.
It's Esma
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I spelled that
She's
right.
Hawaiian, so they just randomly add glottal
It's just
stops.
a whole bunch of vowels. Like, that's what it is. It's 3 consonants and like 50 vowels.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously,
We
Hawaiian
tried-
has like 3 consonants.
We tried sending a couple messages to Citriel and Tobias, but no luck.
Yeah. As far as you guys can tell, like the magic itself just didn't work in the same way that would happen if you tried, messaging Santa Claus.
Yeah, it occurs to me now the reason why they didn't work is because when we last saw them, it was probably several hundred years difference from when we ran into them last.
Yeah.
And this is why you are our leader. You say jump, and we jump. Literally.
I convinced you, and I pitched the idea.
Convince! You said, trust me, jump! And we all just jumped.
Yeah.
You didn't even say trust me. You said, we need to jump. And so we said, okay, and we jumped. We trust you.
Yeah, you have an impulse control problem. I know your reason.
I mean, he's not wrong.
No.
He may be linking
I'm not
two
wrong either.
unrelated things, but
He's not wrong about that.
so, we're just gonna call her Tesma,
Okay.
because it's easier for me to say that. I don't know why neural is so hard for me to say, but my stutter does not like it. So
My
I'm just going
brain
to refer
keeps
to her
on
as
thinking
Tesma.
you're going to say Tesco.
Tesco. So this is Tesla, and
Tesla and Tesco.
No, go back, go back, go back, go back.
she's a Cybertruck, and
Oh.
This is not an AOFL situation. Fuck you.
no, I'm just going to refer to her as Tesma for ease of use. So her real name is
However
Tesma
she
Neurals,
wants you to call her, that's fine.
but when I mention her, I'm just going to say Tesma. So anyway, Tesma has kind of followed you guys in, and hasn't really said much of anything. She mostly has just been observing.
We did also drop like Smegwick has been like as literally anyone. He thought order of operations it was going to follow the same old pattern, but he dropped Corey Alstrax and she blanched.
Yes. So I guess I'll leave it up to you guys. If you want to continue the conversation about Corialstrax, we can go that route, or if you guys want to kind of explore and try to discover more things about this particular ruin, like what do you guys want to do?
Well, I guess the first question, actually, I personally have coming up: have the ruins? We shunted from. My backwards thinking is that's what happened from the Druid Circle, and then we met a very young Tesman Neural. Do the ruins look any different?
Why don't you make me a perception check to get some rolling started?
Oh god.
Can I get an investigation on this?
You know what? I'm good with investigation. Sure.
Should I roll again?
God damn it. 12.
No, you can keep your perception check if you want.
Damn it.
19.
19. Okay. Anyone else want to make a roll before I start revealing information?
Sure, I would love
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, you told me to
I'm
keep my
so
roll,
insightful.
and you forget that that falls under wisdom, and I have a -1 modifier to that.
13.
13. So, as you guys look around, again, when you first transported from the city to the Feywild, the city itself looked like a ruin. There was vines and moss growing on things. You could see like things were in disrepair, and it looked like hundreds of years had passed. Looking around now, it looks nearly identical to when you first transported to the Feywild. To the point where even, I'll say Reggie, with your 19, you actually remember as you guys were walking around, you knocked over like some bits of rubble and stuff like that. The rubble seems to have reset itself to the places where it was when you guys first transported here.
Oh, that's interesting.
So what would y'all like to do?
Okay, so the two cons seem to be us and this friggin' city.
So it's like a giant ruin?
Yeah, it's not the full size of the city that you guys left from,
Yeah.
but it's large enough that
In a quadrant or something, or a good chunk of it?
it's a decent chunk. You don't have the very edge of the city included in this, but it goes probably within about like 500-600 feet to the closest edge from where you guys were in the city. So you're probably looking at probably maybe like a mile and a half, 2 hours, or mile and a half, 2 miles. Brain is just switching words around. In diameter of the city just kind of appeared.
Smegwick will kind of, he does whisper to Tesma Neural. He'll go like, hey. Like, just to make sure it's like, because again, he's trying to keep his word to a pact he has yet to make, but at the same time, he does also, he's genuinely concerned for a reason. He wants to check with her about this. He points to the ruins. Is any of this anywhere close to where you're set up?
Well, I have been attempting to make my home near here. I'm assuming that's why that creature was able to find me. Whenever one of my kind creates their lair, it can affect the surrounding area, and even at my young age, I've already started to affect the land around me. Though in the Feywild, that can mean many different things.
Yeah, I remember. That's kind of the reason why I guess the Feywild kind of ended up being kind of the perfect camouflage area for you.
There are other benefits, including the myriad of mysteries and discoveries that can be made within the Feywild. For someone as curious as I am, it provides quite a few distractions, let's say.
I know that feeling.
There's constantly something to learn.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that, could I?
Yeah, or I mean, I guess you guys are having kind of a personal conversation, so.
It could have evolved beyond that.
Yeah. But she kind of turns to the rest of the party. I do not know your connection with this place, but if you are able to leave it, you are more than welcome to come to my lair. It is slightly less exposed that we are
Well,
here?
it's not. We don't have a pattern as of yet. But the last time we left, uh, we encountered a few people. Still hoping they're okay. And this place seemed. We got shunted out of there. Met you, and this place seemed to follow us. So I'm wondering. I am. Maybe we're not too far away. It shouldn't be a problem.
Well, my
Who knows? Maybe it'll follow us.
That's kind of what I'm concerned about.
my lair is about an hour's journey from here. If I'm required to remain terrestrial like you. Otherwise, if you don't mind flying again, I can probably get us there in 20 minutes.
I'm not
Uh,
complaining. Sure.
That honestly seems like the first good boon we've had in a... I can't even remember the last time.
Provided we can, we have no problem safely transporting the device and Esmiel.
I unfortunately do not have anything available to me currently that would be able to transport your unconscious friend completely safely. If one of you would like to volunteer to protect her safety.
And
Right.
I think we all look towards Arai.
Well then, as long as you can keep her safe, I'm certain I can get you there with very little difficulty. And she kind of like leans a shoulder down and stretches a wing out to the ground.
Ray's gonna go and pick up Esmiel.
Okay.
Yeah, and take the device with us.
Arai, as you pick up Esmiel, one thing you do notice, she seems to be a little bit colder than you remember her being before. Not to the point of being like dangerous or anything like that, but
Like clammy cold or like
Like-
frost cold?
kind of a combination of both. Like her clothing itself has a bit of a chill to it. And then when you test her skin, like, you know, feel her forehead and stuff like that, she definitely feels colder than normal. Though, to be fair, a lot of the times where you've had contact with her skin, her temperatures have been elevated for various reasons.
Yes.
But it's noticeable enough that as soon as you picked her up, you were aware of it. You didn't have to, like, stop and examine her. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So, go ahead.
Guys, we might have a problem. And he kind of like comes over with his mail. She's getting cold. Not like cold, give me a jacket. Like, even her clothes are cold.
How far in the air are we?
Well, currently you guys are on the ground.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't even taken off yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the problem.
Well, if it is warmth that you need, I do have a rather large fire pit. I plan to eventually use it to entertain guests, but as of right now, it is simply there to cook my various meals. But it should
Man,
provide
you're-
more than enough warmth to keep your unconscious friend well. At least more warmth than is provided in this area.
I think that might be exactly what we're looking for.
I'm just
Okay.
concerned it's not temperature that's affecting her. It's like, oh, I don't know, loss of blood, reduced blood flow,
Well, Tobias healed her up fine. She's
Yeah.
okay on that front.
stable. Okay.
Well, we can't stay here.
Right.
Yeah, we really can't.
All right.
No telling when this thing will disappear.
And we have an offer for us to get moving, so I
Yeah.
say we get moving.
All right.
Yeah. Everybody out to the dragon.
All right.
All right. So as you guys go, she lifts off and you guys are very quickly taken above the trees. And from your vantage point, you can actually see a remarkably large amount of the Feywild, because she goes easily
wow.
about 100 feet into the air. And something that, Araya, I don't know if you've ever been this high in the Feywild. So I'll let you decide if this is an experience that you've observed before. But for the rest of you, this would have been your first time being able to see like a bird's eye view of the Feywild. And one of the more unique aspects of it, as you all know, the Feywild isn't the same from moment to moment. You know, at parts of the Feywild will shift to other parts, and traveling the Feywild can be difficult. So as you get to a significantly high enough spot, you can actually watch as parts of the Feywild transition to different places and get replaced with other aspects. Like you guys can see to the north, you see this kind of mushroom forest get replaced by a crystalline forest. And the mushroom forest, you don't see it appear anywhere else near enough for you to see it, but it just kind of, one moment you see mushrooms and a few kind of strange insectoid-like creatures that are climbing over the mushrooms, and then suddenly there are crystals and these strange kind of geometric rock-based creatures kind of roaming around in it. And so Tesma kind of flies, and again, over the next 20 minutes, you guys can see various parts of the Feywild, and eventually you come to a mountain that is not quite as large as a lot of the kind of like land masses that you see poking through the veil in the Sovereignty, but it's decent enough that it's noticeable from pretty far away. And as you get closer, you can see it has wooded areas all around it, and eventually you just come to nothing. Like there's just a wall of rock in front of you, and this particular area seems significantly more kind of inhospitable to life. Like the ground itself looks very kind of dead, and the trees here look kind of very unwelcoming. And before you guys can think about it, Tesman goes straight into the wall, and suddenly you guys are in a relatively large cavern, and you can see the glint of gold and precious stones in various places around. And Tesma kind of lands and extends a wing for you guys to come off.
Okay, next time
Never
warn
mind,
us that you're
Tesma.
just gonna fly through a wall like that.
I think that was an illusion.
Illusion magic was one of the first that I studied. It's remarkably useful for especially young dragons like myself, so we can establish our lair without having to defend it very often.
Very true.
Well,
All right, well, Reggie's already climbing off, and he's like standing still for a moment to get stable on the ground again.
All right.
He is not used to that.
First order of business. Let's get Esmiel come, girl.
Okay.
so Tesma kind of wanders around, and you watch her use her tail to pick up a really large, like you guys would describe it as a boulder. Even for Tesma, it's still relatively large because she's only, 15, 20 feet tall. But she kind of wraps her tail around it, and then brings it over and slams it into the ground and then next to you guys, where it sets off a shower of sparks that light some logs and things that had been there previously that you guys... It wasn't that they just kind of appeared there. They just were something that none of you noticed. And suddenly you can see little embers of a fire. And Tesma turns to you all and goes, well, I have no problem building and nurturing my own fires. If you would like it to be done slightly faster for your friend. And she points over to this kind of collection of logs that she has against the wall. You are more than welcome to help build the bonfire. The fire pit that's just been lit is easily about 10 feet across. So plenty of room. And there's already a decent amount of wood there, but a lot of it is closer to charcoal than it is full-on logs and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think we might make it a little bit bigger.
Thank you very much, Esmeralda.
She nods and she goes over and just kind of lies down in an area surrounded by the various riches that she's accumulated.
Her eyes going to
Curls
look
up.
around and just see the dirt and hand Ismail to Reggie.
Yeah.
Here. Be careful.
I will try.
I'll go get the logs. And he goes over and starts to collect rugs.
Collect rocks.
Yeah.
No,
So barbarian, he's
logs.
like,
rocks and logs.
they're rocky
Rocks.
logs, petrified wood, folks.
Yes.
Yep.
So I've heard, I haven't been able to confirm this, but a buddy of mine, very, very knowledgeable, apparently the reason that petrified wood exists is because the creatures that would decompose woods, like the various animals that like eat and the bacteria and stuff that decompose the wood, hadn't evolved fully when that stuff was there, and so there was nothing to decompose it, and it turned into petrified wood. Again, I'm not 100% certain that that's accurate, because my understanding is bacteria predates multicellular life a lot, but it was a cool idea, and I kind of liked the idea of, what happens if there's nothing to break down, dead trees? They turn into rocks.
Yeah.
We actually still have my dad, because there's a petrified forest in Arizona where I was born. We actually have a piece of petrified wood somewhere in our house.
Cool.
It's cool stuff. It's weird looking too, because it's definitely a rock. But it has wood grain and everything in it. It's the weirdest thing in the world. So, anyway. So Araya, it takes you maybe 5 minutes to get enough that you guys have a decent, college beach party sized bonfire.
Yeah, I set down Esmail on the ground, close to the fire, but obviously not too close that it might rage and
Burn her.
consume them. Yeah, exactly. I am also gonna take my pack, and I'm gonna put it under their head as a pillow, just to make sure they're comfy and whatnot. I'm not gonna put any blankets on them. I think the bonfire itself is gonna be warm enough.
Okay.
I am gonna be right back though.
Okay. So, Esmiel seems to be breathing easily enough, like you don't sense any kind of labor in her breath. And the fire is definitely, her clothes are, even just from being held by Arai for the trip, her clothes had kind of regulated to Arai's kind of external temperature without too much difficulty. And now kind of checking on her, her internal temperature seems to be getting closer to what it normally should be. So yeah, what do you all want to do?
All right.
During this time while they were taking, because Smegwing was like, yeah, she needed time to recoup, but she's healed, but yet it was explained to us by Tobias, physically she's okay, mentally, spiritually, even she was exhausted and she needed rest and recuperation time. But the fact that she was getting cold for a while, so I think Smegwick would have gotten to work on casting Detect Magic.
For sure. Okay.
And to see, does she have anything going on with her? Because the device was gotten by her, but and I think if I remember correctly, she was the one who operated the device in the first place. So that's the reason why Smeg was
okay.
He's worried about maybe something is affecting her.
So, the Detect Magic spell The way that when it was designed by mages centuries ago, the way it was designed to work was to work within the magic system that everyone uses, with spells, particular spells and things like that, schools of magic. And so the information that you would normally get from it is, hey, this particular magic effect is affecting them from this spell, from this school of magic. And as you cast it on Esmiel, you don't get any sort of school of magic indication. You don't get a particular spell effect indication from the information that you glean from it. But there is some sort of magic that is affecting her. And you can kind of see the magic itself trail off in the direction of the fading ruin. And since Detect Magic lasts for, it's 10 minutes, right?
Yes.
So yeah, after you do your kind of examination of Esbiel, which it does take you, because this is so alien and it's not technically what the spell was quote unquote designed to do by in universe. I'm not talking about like the spell description, but I'm talking in universe, the people that created the spell. It was meant to interact with how they understood magic. And so because it's interacting with something that doesn't obey the laws of magic that you guys are used to, it does take you the better part of like 5 minutes to fully glean what it is that you're seeing. And when you get to the point where you're like, oh, I understand this, you start looking around, you notice that in addition to any actual magical effects that are affecting the party, it seems that every one of you has something somewhat similar, just a significantly lesser version of it affecting you all as well. So whatever's affecting Esmiel is like the level 9 version, whereas the stuff that's affecting you guys might be like a level 3 version.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, we like, oh.
Though again, it doesn't follow the rules of spell levels or anything.
Yeah, there's definitely an aura, but it's not a school of magic. That's weird. So, like he describes, like, okay, so basically, we're giving off auras of magic, can't identify. Esmiel's about here. In regards to the aura, we're about here. And it's all trailing off to the direction of the ruins.
We're like the 4 of us, or that are here, or like, is that including Tasmanero? Like,
Tismanurl is not emanating that.
Just
Though to
us.
be perfectly honest, because of well, I guess not yet. I was about to say, if you cast Detect Magic on Tismanurl,
It's an area effect that would go on.
well, what I was having learned magic from her in the future, anytime you attempted to identify or detect magic on her, she was powerful enough that it had no effect on her. So you've never been able to tell what her magical abilities are. Now that she's
hit a lot of them.
Yeah, now that she's significantly younger, currently she doesn't have any magical stuff emanating from her. But the room that you guys are in, there's a lot of illusion magic in it, and there's a few areas that have abjuration magic. Specifically, every like coin and bit of shiny in here has abjuration and abjuration spells, and every so often you'll see like a little bit of evocation magic or enchantment magic. So, like most dragons, she has trapped her horde.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes. I'm just gonna say this is a general rule.
Yeah.
Don't go poking nothing.
Okay.
I will stay firmly right here.
Yep. As a partial dragon, I know I know that we do like to keep our horse in good condition.
Uri immediately starts like turning around. He's kind of like hovering still near Ismail, but now he's like,
Shiny.
Now?
what kind
No.
of stuff is here that I shouldn't be touching? Let me go see it.
You can
Everything.
look.
I won't touch. I won't touch.
You can
with
look.
all of my body.
Remember the gem? Remember the ruby?
Yes. You remember the adventure? Which one's the ruby here?
No.
Can I ask?
No.
Actually, why don't you?
No.
All right, why don't you roll me a perception check?
Okay.
I hope
18.
I hope you touch the one that polymorphs you.
Oh, so dude, that would be fun. 18.
18, cool. So looking around, having lived in the Feywild your entire life, like dragons are not native to the Feywild in general, and hundreds of years before you were born, there was an incident that caused the portal to the Kale Isles, the only way to get to the Prime Material Plane, to be shut off. And so it's been hundreds of years since you've even since anyone's been able to see a dragon. But your parents have told you stories of, dealing with dragon hordes, because while they were rare on the Feywild, they weren't impossible to find. And the just kind of vast amount of wealth and riches that were contained within a dragon horde was always something. Like a few of the vanishing ruins were had dragon hordes in them. And so you're kind of expecting dragon horde. You're kind of expecting big piles of gold and magic items and other things like that. Looking around here, there's gold. There are precious stones and the things like that. And you also notice a few weapons and things like that that are kind of just from your own experience of exploring Vanishing Ruins and knowing what things are going to be valuable enough to risk taking, and what things are just like, not really. There's some mundane, high quality weapons, but mundane. There's a few kind of minor magic weapons and the things like that in there. You see a couple of, you find a decanter of endless water that you just instantly recognize because they're quite popular with ruin hunters in general, because it means that you don't have to bring water rations with you. But nothing in here screams dragon horde. If you guys found this collection, you would assume that this was probably maybe a bandit horde or something like that. It's not nearly magical enough that you would be really impressed with it.
Are we her
She's
horde?
young.
Her
She's
friends?
Funnily enough,
Smegwick, remembering her. Excuse me 1 second.
muted.
Smegwick would remember basically the way it was when he was here versus obviously there's a lot of difference. It's like there's a difference between because he knows how dragons set up, how this dragon sets up, because they're normally. I think this is probably there's probably not as many wings to this place as when he was.
This the particular horde. First of all, the main kind of antechamber that you guys are in is the only room in this particular one. When you were here last, she had multiple kind of off changers. There were multiple treasure rooms, some of which had literal fake treasure. She probably had 12 different treasure rooms. 8 of them were fake. And she particularly enjoyed, as you were learning magic and everything, one of the things she particularly enjoyed doing was sending you to a fake treasure room looking for a real piece of treasure, and then watching you have to figure out that, oh, this is the wrong room.
Yeah.
She got a kick out of that.
She was Mr. Miyagiing me and teaching me lessons.
But originally in this room, there was enough wealth to kind of be magnificent, but it was put there purposefully to look pretty. This looks like her entire collection of wealth.
Yeah, not as
it's
much.
Significantly smaller. than she ever
Not
had.
as
She's
not as
still
much.
young. She has like centuries to build that up.
Yeah, you don't have the. She doesn't have the art collection nearly as massive as she originally did.
Yeah.
While Araya's walking around looking at everything, not touching, just looking, he's gonna ask her like the stories of if she's awake and willing to answer, just like the stories of each of the pieces and where they're from, just trying to get.
Sure. Depending on how long you want to have story time, the first piece that she kind of draws your attention to is something that you hadn't even looked at before. It is simply, it looks like just kind of a brass wash basin, like you might find it like a vanity in an okay inn. Like a good quality inn, you would probably have like a porcelain or something like that. This
Yep.
is just like a brass vanity. It's kind of dented a little bit. And she mentions that is her most prized possession because when she was just a young wormling, she was being chased around by a bunch of bugbears that thought that they might be able to get some dragon scales.
Ah.
And she was small enough that she didn't have the ability to really
Why?
compete with them on a physical standpoint, and it was heavily wooded enough that she couldn't fly in a way to get away with them, but she was significantly smarter than they were. And so she ended up convincing them that they had trapped her and had and she had already started collecting a little bit of a hoard and had already started placing in different places. So she went to a place, she had a single chest of some gold coins. Most of it was silver and copper, but the top level of it was gold, and a few precious stones. And she had used this wash basin as a simple way to kind of transport some of it. It had no value whatsoever, but she gets there and she puts on this very large performance of, oh, you have found my one true treasure hoard, please don't. And so she puts this huge performance on, convinces them that they have taken the entirety of her treasure hoard and they can brag about all the magic items because the chest is actually a chest of holding and it is a gateway to her massive treasure hoard. But please don't take her basin. It is the one thing that keeps her, attached to this world. Without this basin, she will be transported back to the prime material plane and the slavery that she escaped.
Please don't throw me into that briar patch.
And she was able to convince them, and they left with maybe 500 gold worth of various accoutrements and a bunch of mundane, mostly broken weapons. Because again, she was just a wormling. She wasn't able to get. But ever since that day, that has become her most prized possession because it is her connection to the Feywild. And
Holds
yeah,
a lot of sentimental value.
yeah. So yeah, it's her favorite thing in the world right now. Because it's just one of those stories. Is like, I never before have I created such a convincing lie, and I don't think I ever will again. Like, that was peak deception for me. Nat 20 all the way.
Reggie stands up and gives a standing ovation about that.
Smegma kind of
Oh,
So smart.
beautiful.
Smegma kind of stands in the back, going like, "The value we put on things is not which they can be sold; is what we put into them."
Smegwick, you personally,
He's basically reciting what she told him.
yeah.
That's why I asked for the stories.
When you were first learning some of the things when you were first learning the identify spell, she told you that she had placed these incredible magic wards on this, that only someone who had truly perfected the ability to cast the identify spell would be able to tell the actual spells.
At that time, just canonically, so we don't get too messed up, that was a ritual spell. When it finally kicked in, he was able to do ritual magic. Ritual. So he wasn't. She was trying to teach him, and I think she was trying to gauge his capability at the time.
But the bowl was mundane, and so it didn't matter how many times you ritually cast the spell, how many, it was always going to be mundane. And when you finally figured that out, the kind of Miyagi style lesson that she was trying to teach you, in addition to helping you kind of perfect your magic, was the idea that, mundane items can be important as well. And just because your spell doesn't tell you something about it doesn't mean that it isn't incredibly valuable or useful to you. So, yeah, she enjoyed kind of putting you on these little like wild goose chases, and at the end you would kind of get a little bit frustrated with the idea, and eventually it would click. Oh, there was a point to this.
Yeah.
And that was kind of her teaching style with you. So anyway, what else would you guys like to do?
I think Smegwick would bring up that, like, it's really kind of interesting and funny that you're kind of so open to entertaining right now. When we meet, you're really reclusive.
Well, I'm interested to see how my personality changes. Right now, my goal is to entertain regularly, to meet new people, to discover their stories. That would make me incredibly happy. But who knows, maybe I will eventually find a reason to regret that outlook. The world is a difficult place to exist in.
Eventually, I was going to. I guess there's no better time now than. How do you come to know the situation with Corey Elstrax? You warned me that he was coming. I kind of presumed you meant that we dealt with him in the past as kind of the royal we. I would imagine you probably weren't. I mean, I'll say this indelicately. I mean, you wouldn't be up to snuff to take him on, considering your age now.
I have
Maybe
never.
it's a sire situation.
I personally have never encountered the Scourge of the upper plains. But it is a tale passed down through my kind for generations. When the world was new and societies were starting to break from the chaos of creation and create the order of life, from the very edges of existence, creatures would form from the negative aspects of entropy and chaos that had been cast aside by the now mortal races. One of these beings eventually came to call themselves Corialstrax. We always referred to it as the Scourge of the upper plains, because it had been able to destroy the first civilizations that founded in the elemental planes and the Feywild. There have been theories that both the Vanishing Isles from the disappearing. I know what this is. I wrote all of this.
Yeah.
Hold, please. The Fading Isles. It has been theorized by my kind that both the Fading Isles and the Vanishing Ruins were a direct result of him unleashing incredible amounts of destruction, so powerful that it literally ripped aspects of reality away from existence and untethered them in both time and space. My kind used to spend centuries wandering the various elemental kingdoms, exploring the Feywild, experiencing the myriad of majesties that abounded. But our conflict with the Scourge of the Upper Plains convinced us to leave. The legends that were told to me when I was even younger than I am now was that an alliance between dragons and humans and the various the various affected human races, the Genasi, the elemental affected, the Genasi, the heaven and hell affected, the tieflings, and the other word that I can't remember right now because my brain's not working, the angel people. Asmar, thank you. They all allied with dragons. We imported bits of our power to them, and through our combined effort, we're able to confine the Scourge of the Upper Plains before he was able to break through and make it to the prime material plane. They decided to trap him beneath the veil because of the incredible amount of natural barrier that existed there. It would mean he would have to regain the majority of his power to even attempt to breach that area. And we thought that was it.
Until one day the island finally came back up, which we didn't think was possible.
Island?
Yeah, the elemental plane of air, where some of us are originally from, looks right. Some of us are originally from the Tempest Sovereignty, elemental plane of air.
Mm-hmm.
The islands are land masses in general. There is a few stationary, for the most part, settled. They're pretty much locked in as being there. But occasionally we do have islands that come up out of the veil, sometimes full floral and fauna, but then they go back down.
I'm familiar with the Fading Isles.
Well,
Coriostraz was not trapped on a Fading Isle. He was trapped significantly below them.
This one came up.
Shouldn't be possible. Not according to legends I was told.
Basically, and he's going to show, he's going to do like a minor illusion. He's like, this is the island that came up out, and he's going to point here. This one became, and when it finally, the whole section, this is like one of the most biggest masses to date in the future that will come up. This one, and he shows her here, was a section of the city we went to investigate. That's where he was. Someone else looks at her eye, not us, busted him out.
And so she begins looking at it and she goes, this city...
Maybe he'll do a minor illusion and here's the city outlay.
And so she looks at it, she goes, this city, this is not where he was trapped. This is not, for lack of a better term, this is not dragon built.
It was weird technology. Like, we have an artificer. It was like, they had stuff that we couldn't make sense of. Like Magitech.
This is a technology I'm not familiar with.
When we ran into Corey, he was in a chill out beam that was real big. And he was basically kind of sleeping it off for God knows how long, and occasionally birthing a beholder out of him. Um, guess the beam, I have to imagine, was probably he was able to muster up enough to wake up and have a conversation with us, but then a group of other assholes made a big boom up topside.
He shouldn't have been conscious at all. Part of the imprisonment was a permanent. When he was imprisoned, as far as the legend goes, they didn't simply put him in a cage and bury him. They separated his mind from his body and imprisoned both of them separately.
He was not separated when we met him.
No, when we met him, he was when it all went down, he then became very much awake, very much aware, and very much not happy.
Well, then someone, long before any of you arrived, someone must have done something.
Maybe someone else found him and put him together. Because apparently, when we found him, that happened. Maybe they realized too late what they had done and tried to correct their whoopsie. Because it was the magic. I don't know if that was a result of him. Probably, because when he finally woke up, it kind of changed the area when he was gaining power. But the area was like so chaotic. If you cast even the most minor of spells, it did some weird things. I cast Mage Hand. It put a friggin' tentacle on my hand for a while.
Ugh.
Unfortunately, whatever happened after his imprisonment, by that point the dragons had left the upper planes, so we have no knowledge of it.
Yeah, he referred to the city on the spire.
There's no way he should be aware of that.
Apparently, he was, I think, I mean, granted, this is him pontificating, but he was worshipped.
Hold on
Supposedly.
now. This all just kind of makes me realize something. You said that when he was originally summoned, the original plan was to have his body in one place and his mind in a completely separate place. Is that right?
Not exactly. We separated his mind from his body and imprisoned them separately, but the connection was so strong we couldn't put much physical space between them. Or
So
rather,
they were-
they could. So
they were most likely in the same location, but just not in the same
Yeah.
space.
Yes.
Okay.
Imagine dual prison cells.
Yeah.
Two prisoners that are near to each other but separated enough that they can't interact.
He was in one cell.
He had worshippers.
He had
And he's aware,
worshippers.
and he was aware of details that, as you say, he should not have been aware of.
He spoke of cleansing blasphemers and non-believers that didn't worship him.
Unfortunately, again, this is from well before my time. I know very little aside from the legends, and they don't tend to go into specifics of his belief structure.
Do the legends... Sorry.
The city on the spire is the location of the portal to the Kingdom of the Kale Isles in the Shadowfell. The Shadowfell itself is a massive rolling sea of darkness. In the center of it, there is a massive spire. At the very top is the portal, and a city was built around it in order to allow movement from the plane of shadows to the prime material plane. Years and years ago, it was, and I believe it still is, the orcs that live in the Kale Isles have devoted their culture to protecting the two portals. The Eladrin in the Feywild deal with the deal with the portal on this side, and in the Shadowfell, the city on the spire is run by the Shadowkai, elves that have been affected by spending significant amounts of time in the Shadowfell.
Thanks, you've given us more than enough information.
It worries me that someone was able to, first of all, remove him from his prison,
Yeah.
and second of all, develop the ability to contain him in a way that my ancestors never considered. Again,
Did
the
you? I
reason-
know we've been showing this to a lot of people. Are you familiar with this tableau? And he's like, does the tableau that we had pieced together, about Corey Elstrax and supposedly what we were hoping was a clue on how to deal with them.
She looks at it, and you see this like expression of just complete puzzlement, which normally, again, in your brief amount of time that you spent training under her, if you could get her to make this face, that generally is a good thing because you found something that truly puzzled her, which she enjoyed. But this time you're looking at it, and it kind of bothers you a little bit, and you're not sure why. And she looks at, she says, "Where did you find this?"
Series of convergence details we had all managed to put together.
That is my artwork. But I haven't created it. I recognize some of the mosaic techniques that I developed when I was younger. But I have no memory of making this.
Maybe you haven't gotten to work on it yet.
It seems ancient.
Well, I mean, several hundred years go by.
As much
And Feywild.
as much as I've come to enjoy my time in the Feywild, the non-linearity of literally everything here can become very frustrating, where things I have yet to do can appear in the past, and things that I have already done can appear in the future.
Apparently you get the hang of it.
You do. It's fascinating.
Yeah, all it takes is just time.
Should be nothing to you.
Well, if the Scourge of the Upper Plains is, in a few hundred years, going to be,
The Scourge again.
I believe it would be in everyone's best interest for me to attempt to leave the Feywild and try to contact my brethren in the Prime Material Plane again.
I mean, okay. God, I hate paradoxes. If it is going to have as going to happen, I don't know. Like, maybe you guys can sort that out better. Because at the time when we leave, he basically is starting to claim cities. There was basically a hive filled with beholders that started to lay claim to the city we fled. If a surprise attack came out of nowhere and shut him down. Or unless someone has a way to shut this down before it even starts, that would be something else.
This is worrying, to say the least. The death toll amongst the humans and my kind was catastrophic. The
Were
victory was
beholders in the
won.
picture? Were
Yes.
beholders in the picture when he was?
They are his primary means of
Okay, I was wondering if that was new or not.
influence. Beholders in and of themselves are not natural creatures. They are beings of entropy and chaos. Their minds themselves exist with the idea to destroy and break down everything. Societies, minerals, they are aberrations of the highest order who exist simply to create entropy and destruction. They hate everything, including each other.
Oh, we know that one.
Jeez.
And as far as we are aware, the progenitor of all of them is the Scourge.
Including, I don't know if the timetable gets worrisome. We encountered one. I'm not quite familiar with this one. Okay, so here's like the beholders, and then we saw some zombie beholders. So we got those down, and we counted those. What was this fucker? And he's gonna show this like the ambassador, the negotiator. That was
Wasn't he like a giant skull head or
yeah,
something?
he was a giant skull. Joshua knows what it is, but we didn't get that. That was a little esoteric for Smegwick.
Some beholders, extremely skilled with magic, eventually learned the various rituals required to create a lich. But
fuck my life.
with
Oh, that's
their
not good.
lack of a soul, they could never achieve true lichdom. But they created a semblance of it. They refer to themselves as death tyrants.
That was a very apropos name. That's kind of worrisome considering he wasn't in. He was just starting to wake up, so I don't know if this is a result of the ones that were already flying around or him waking up.
We were never able to completely eliminate the danger of beholders once they were unleashed upon existence. It is significantly easier to once they started existing, making them stop existing proved impossible. There are still beholders that exist in the prime material plane, in the Shadowfell, in the seven heavens of Elysium, and the seven levels of hell in Tartarus.
Well, they were a bit more rare for us. They were practically mythological when we were encountering them.
Well,
They made a big comeback.
again, their progenitor had been taken away from them, and for centuries our understanding was that they could no longer procreate and create more without the help of the Scourge. However, some of them started discovering strange ways to make more of them. We were never able to completely root them out, but we were able to hunt enough of them down that they became very, very rare. Truly, a beholder is one of the most destructive beings in existence, whose entire purpose is antithetical to the order of life. They're not just beings that crave chaos, they are physical manifestations of entropy. They desire to break every bit of order down until everything is chaos.
That's, that's kind of strange then. Basically they all hated each other, but in this one city they took over, they basically enslaved the entire populace into building a giant edifice. They forced people to create.
The Scourge has the ability to focus them.
Yeah.
Without his influence, they are single-minded in the idea of entropy, destruction, and their own glorification. But when affected by the Scourge, he can convince them to work together, which is probably more dangerous than any Death Tyrant or other Beholder variant that has ever existed. The truly most dangerous thing for the world is not for Beholders to exist, but for Beholders to cooperate. We assumed without his leadership that they would eventually fall to infighting for the few that we weren't able to destroy. Or so the legends go.
For the most part, they were until those other people broke him out.
Yeah, and they were infighting.
Yeah, but I guess they kind of got their act together when he fully woke up. When he was dozing the entire time, apparently he still kept producing.
Yeah, he did.
I'm sure they probably died off over the centuries, but they probably they more kept coming.
Well, luckily enough for us, apparently, we have many hundreds of years to prepare our forces.
All right.
Yeah, the problem is this is a guy who warps reality.
The other problem, unfortunately, is we have no forces to prepare. The Eternal Empress is doing her best to guide the Eladrin in a productive way, but the Eladrin have become standoffish. They don't seek alliances and friendships like they once did. The sovereignty has started to exert control over the entirety of their populace, using their military might to exert their will.
Not for nothing, you should probably know this is going to be effect. Normally, I know the normal rules that I understand about time travel, but if we're going to take a big swing at a very big bad guy, they kind of end up at war with all the other planes, and the planes vice versa, because they all kind of want a piece of the Verdant.
It saddens me to hear that. For thousands of years, the planes have been in harmony. But unfortunately, with recent developments, it does not seem that surprising to me.
Everybody has a story about who's the bad guy in the scenario, but
Yeah,
such as
it's a
war.
shame.
And history is written by the victors, blah, blah, blah.
Well, that's the problem. No one's the friggin' victor. It's just been going on for a real long time. Apparently, it's longer than everyone takes a moment to realize.
Yeah, way longer than we've been alive.
If I could posit a theory, you all seem to have a unique opportunity. While I am limited by my own ability to influence the various political machinations of the Feywild and the Elemental Kingdoms, you are not. You seem to have the ability to, at this point randomly, go to different periods of history And you have successfully survived encounters with the Scourge, which is not a feat many can claim.
Yeah.
Perhaps instead of focusing on preparing the world to work together, you should more focus on preparing you to play whatever part it is you're meant to play in this.
Kind of the problem is we don't know what the frig that is. We tend to get bounced around a lot.
As do most. I myself have not been involved in many world-changing events, but my sires were. They lived through the Chosen Wars. They saw the original formation of the various kingdoms of Triregnum. It's always shocking, the people that change history, because very rarely are they anyone that would be identified by the general populace as quote-unquote important. But it seems to me the most important people in the world are the ones that are least convinced of their own value.
That's true. We're gonna have to figure out what it is we're gonna do and how we're gonna do it.
Most definitely.
That's heavy.
I will say, this is by far the most interesting conversation I have had in a century.
So, I guess the next thing we got to figure out right now is
Our next step.
not just our next step, but considering where we are and more precisely when we are, what's the next big momentous moment in history related to all this that's going to happen now? And where should we be when it happens?
That's the problem. It was hundreds of years ago.
Hundreds of years ago, and we're in the Feywilds.
You know who would have that information?
Hmm?
My parents.
We could. I'm gonna throw out a crazy idea. Like Smegway has spent so long not saying her name, he still fights to. He still's like. He still doesn't say her name, and he looks at her and says, "I got a crazy idea that maybe could help in regards to the research. I'm gonna guess a couple hundred years from now, a certain family's gonna pop up around here investigating these runes. Maybe, depending on how you want to approach it, a benefactor, a patron, could put them on the path for investigating. Because they're already specialized in investigating ruins.
That might be beneficial. Obviously,
Quite the historians.
These fading runes have a connection to what's going on currently. What are your parents' names?
We were just saying them all the time. Why am I
Cedriel is one of them.
Cedriel and... Oh my gosh, hold on.
And Mama!
And Mom.
There's an N name.
Yep.
Well, my parents, they're named Mom and Dad.
Yeah. It's like you don't call them anything else. You see how hard of a time I had?
Yeah, this is Mom. and this is
Nindy?
Dad.
Is it Nindy or something?
Nindy. Yeah, it was
Nindy, there we
Nindy.
go. And you kind of, through the conversation, they won't be born for another couple hundred years.
Like, and he will look to Arai like, "Are you okay? Me showing what they look like?"
Yeah,
Like, minor illusion.
So,
attractive.
so yeah, they won't be born for another couple hundred years, but she goes, okay, I'll keep an eye out.
But a ward or something that gets tripped, and a certain elven lady comes forward. Hello. Oh, you like ruins too? So do I.
I think this could be a possible boon.
Because, and I really hate to bring up a sore subject, but Arai, your parents, according to that one friend of yours that came to try to fetch you, your parents disappeared. Now,
Yes.
this doesn't create a paradox because we don't know why or how they disappeared. We just know they disappeared. We have literally proven we could disappear with ruins. Possibly, in a good way, we could be responsible for them disappearing.
Oh, I don't want to think about that.
No, this could be a
Eh,
good. That could be a good
That
thing
could be a
actually, because
good
that
thing.
means they're not lost.
Yeah.
Most people who get lost, most people who vanish with ruins, even I know that's not supposed to happen. Normally, people like that get lost for forever, really.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they disappear. But we disappeared with some friggin' ruins. They were they disappeared too, and according to Rye, they knew better.
Mm-hmm.
What if that was the reason why? If that was the reason why, maybe that might possibly also mean they wouldn't be reckless about it, and that also means that they could be found again.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that better than the alternative.
It makes no, but see, like it kind of makes sense.
It does make sense. It does make a lot of sense. Like that is something my parents would do.
Well, I will keep an eye out for them and watch over them in whatever ways I can. Though if I'm going to become their benefactor, I would probably have to increase my hoard.
Well, that would kind of work in both ways, actually, because oh my God, do they become the reason why your art collection gets? Like, do they suddenly become the reason why you amass an art collection?
The future is always the most likely future that I have discovered tends to be the one that is least likely to happen. That was something my father told me when I was very young and couldn't understand why it was that he would allow the various moral races to do things that seem so destructive and then just expect that things would work out well in the end. It always seemed impossible that the evil would be vanquished, that good would triumph, and yet heroes would always emerge.
Yeah, that's definitely. There's something like. I know I'm a bit of a glass half full dragonborn, but there's always something to like about that kind of story.
Well, Today has been a rather eventful day.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah, maybe we should check in on Esmiel right now, see if she's feeling any better.
Oh yeah, I'll handle that one, and I'll walk over to them.
Okay. So Esmail, still unconscious, still breathing pretty easily.
I nudge them with
So-
my foot.
And Arai like immediately takes you by the back of your shirt and throws you backwards.
Yeah. Ah.
Like, no.
All the bedside manner in the world, you thought a kick was a good
It wasn't a kick. It was just gonna be a gentle nudge.
with a foot.
You don't touch someone, especially someone sick, with your foot, especially when you know that someone here cares about her. You're lucky you didn't get thrown into a wall right now.
Okay. First of all, he just he did just nudge. He didn't do anything else. I have been on the side of your rage. Back off. I'm trying to be on your side too. I'm like Smeg was going to go over. He's going to put the back of his hand to her forehead.
She, as far as you can tell, like, she looks like she's simply in a deep sleep. There's nothing that would indicate that she's ill, like she's not, like, clammy or sweaty or anything like that.
That's a good sign.
A decent amount of the color has kind of returned to her cheeks and her little lips. For a little while, she was getting very pale.
Well, this is like deja vu from the other side. Holy crap.
And if you do, like, if anyone wants to do a quick medicine check.
No way.
Sure.
I'm not proficient, but just like it really,
I'll do one too.
Rai
I'm a
decides to
negative
play doctor.
modifier. No way.
Right, just
Nope.
decided to play doctor and get a 19
18.
All right. So kind of
plus 0. Sorry.
kind of examining everything, and especially Rai, since you have a decent amount of experience dealing with people that have wounds from your own adventurous childhood. You start looking for things like internal bleeding, like you start kind of pressing on her abdomen to see if it feels solid. And it's got the regular amount of kind of give. You place your ear on her chest to kind of hear how she's breathing,
Heartbeat.
and you don't hear anything wrong. Her heart seems to be beating as strong as it needs to. Again, as far as you can tell, she just seems to be in extremely deep sleep, which is better than she has been for a little while.
Maybe with whatever happened, she needed more time to acclimate.
Yeah.
Because she suffered injuries.
Yeah.
But you said the level of the magic that was tied to her was higher.
Which makes sense. She was the one that activated the device. And she was wounded.
Has that changed since we've been in here in the Horde and away from the ruin?
At the time when I cast it, it was like she was at that level, we were at that level, and the connection was tethered going the direction towards the ruins.
Right.
If you want to check it again, someone will have to cast Detect Magic again.
I can. Ritual, do it again.
Okay.
Or I can do magic awareness.
So, as far as you can tell, it seems to be the same as the last time you saw it.
Levels are about the same. Same for us too. Have our low level.
As far as you can tell, again, you're examining. You're basically someone that barely understands algebra that's looking at a quantum physics textbook.
Yeah. But
Like all the strange Greek letters seem to be in the same place they were before.
But like
Yeah.
by level of intensity, are we still like about the same as we were before?
As far as you can tell, again, this is so far beyond your understanding that.
But it hasn't abated. It hasn't altered. It hasn't. It's like still the same relative.
As far as
dimness,
you can tell, it looks
dimness
as
intensity.
similar as you can remember to the last time you looked at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember
Relatively
once
about the same.
I think it was in my my French class in high school. I had started taking calculus my junior year of high school, and we had like a student teacher that came in to teach a class once, and she was doing some physics homework or something like that. And we go, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm doing some calculus." And I said, "Well, I do calculus." She goes, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, can I look at it?" And I did, and I looked at her textbook. and I recognized the equations, as in I know what theta and delta and all those things are used to represent in calculus. Could not for the life of me tell you what any of it was supposed to do. Like it looked like gibberish to me. I recognized all the letters, but it was so far beyond my understanding of calculus.
Yeah.
And it's the same kind of basic thing here. You can tell that the symbols are the same symbols, but as far as has anything changed, you don't know. It's so far beyond your realm of understanding that all you can tell is it looks similar to the last time you looked at it.
Yeah.
So, Tesma turns to all of you and goes, well, it is very late. I think you all should try to get some rest. You are safe here. Even the creature that we battled before has never been able to find their way into my lair, so...
Well, that particular one's not going to be a problem for you anymore.
That's reassuring.
I should eventually return to deal with the carcass.
Pretty good warning.
Yeah.
Other nasty predators.
Sorry.
Bobby?
Oh.
Other nasty predators might see something like that taken out, give it a little warning. But you probably don't want to give away your position too much.
Well, that, and I have no idea what the corrupting nature of the corpse could do to any creature that attempts to ingest it. I think it would be in everyone's best interest if I go and deal with it now. As I said, please feel free to get some rest. I will return shortly. And you see her kind of get up, and she stretches her wings and kind of cracks her neck. And then this... she lifts into the air and flies out of the lair.
Let's see it fly.
So what do y'all want to do?
I am going to bed.
Yeah, rest is exactly what we need.
Okay.
I think Smegwick is going to futz around in his journal for a bit and kind of like just basically his thoughts on the situation. Not putting around any details about names or such. Obviously, he's learned. He's always not done that. He's always made sure to keep certain details out of his journal in case anyone looks at the stuff. But he's basically just pacing thoughts and considerations about what's been going on, what he's been dealing with. Okay. So I'll probably do that for a while before he nods off.
Okay.
Ryan's just gonna sit near Esmail and kind of go into his trance next to her, just kind of staying close.
Okay. As you all eventually nod off, even Smegwick, you eventually fall asleep before Tesmaniro has the ability to return. And as you all fall asleep or trance for the more elven inclined, your sleep is anything but restful. Throughout the night, you all have dreams of various events from your life that you can remember happening and having a negative impact on your life. Betrayal of a friend, a particularly bad day where a relative died or something like that. All kind of negative memories. And eventually in every one of your dreams, suddenly you'll notice something out of the corner of your eye. You will go to look at it, and suddenly you are face to face with the Scourge of the upper planes. And in every one of your dreams, he does the exact same thing. His massive eye stares at you. You see his huge toothy maw split itself into a grin. Then you hear the words, "Found you." And then you wake up.
Oh, that's good.
When you all wake up, the first thing that you notice is you can smell something acrid in the air. It hints of smoke, which you would expect having a massive bonfire near you. But there's also something else in it, this kind of bitter scent. As you all kind of acclimate yourself to the waking world, the first thing you notice is you're no longer in Tesmanural's lair. Looking around, you can see the fountain with the strange device on it. You can see Esmiel laying next to it. And it's strange. Something feels very, very off. I'm looking for... There we go. And as you all start to kind of acclimate to where you are, you realize that you're still in the Feywild. Looking around, the forests around you are on fire. You can see the partially decomposed skeletons of various creatures everywhere as far as the eye can see. You are no longer kind of protected by the canopy of trees that normally kind of covers the entirety of the Feywild. And in the sky, normally the Feywild itself has this strange kind of twilight sky that changes colors and things like that, but doesn't technically ever go dark and light like you would see on the prime material plane. The sky itself now is this eerie, sickly green color.
Like it was before?
Obviously, I know what you mean by before, but just so the audience is aware.
So when we were going to when we were getting out from the boat where I scared the beholder, we had noticed that the sky was green.
Yeah, very similar, though. If you would, if it was like a color gradient, that might have been like a level 1 or level 2 kind of greenish color. This version of it just seems more intense, almost like, as unpleasant a description of this is, if you've ever seen like a really bad infected wound that has that weird kind of green and red color, this sky looks infected. And as you all, again, are coming to your senses and waking up, you're starting to recognize that acrid smell in the air is the scent of burning and decaying flesh. And you can see in the distance a massive creature, probably dozens of miles away, but it's so large that you can see it. It has somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to somewhere between 12 and 20 limbs that seem fully articulated with, full grasping hands and claws. On its back is a forest of tentacles and various things. You can see small spherical objects floating around it as it works its way through the Feywild. And from where you guys are, you specifically Arai, you recognize the palace of the Eternal Empress. Seems to be the direction that this creature is heading. But you don't see what you would expect to see in this situation is scores upon scores of Eladrin fighting the city of Alanduil is hundreds of miles in width and length. It is a mega city, and yet you don't see the flash of fireballs. You don't see the explosions of meteors falling from the sky. You just see whatever creature this is destroying things and leaving this huge swath of destruction behind them. But unfortunately, that is where we're going to end it for today. As always, if you missed any of this, I do upload all these to my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/TrainerJody. And yeah, I also do daily vlogging and talk about random stuff there. So feel free to subscribe and see cool stuff. On Saturday, finally, due to the fact that schedules are rough this time of year, it seems like we'll finally be able to play Tears of the Realm, my Zelda RPG that Chax is a part of. That's on twitch.tv/Zelda Universe TV, and it starts at 9 a.m. or not.
Pacific Standard Time.
Yeah, 9 a.m. Pacific Time, 11 a.m. Central Time. Anyway, again, that's all for me today. I will see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.
Bye.